For 600 years, kingdoms collapsed, dynasties disappeared, and empires turned to dust. Yet one empire refused to surrender to history: the Ottoman Empire.
The world before the Ottomans was broken. Kingdoms fought endlessly, borders shifted overnight, and no empire seemed destined to survive. Once the greatest empire on earth, Byzantium, its armies were weak, its core collapsed, and it appeared vulnerable to its neighbors.
Then came an unstoppable force, the Mongols. Their invasions shattered kingdoms and changed history forever. Their invasions destroyed cities and entire kingdoms disappeared. At the crossroads of continents lay Anatolia, the land that connected civilizations, armies, and fortunes. Every empire understood whoever controlled Anatolia controlled the future.
Among countless forgotten tribes, one small frontier clan quietly prepared to change the course of history. This was the beginning of the Ottoman story.
No one imagined this small frontier tribe would one day challenge the greatest kingdoms on earth. But everything was about to change with one man named Osman.
His name was Osman. He inherited no mighty empire, only a dangerous frontier and an impossible dream. His followers believed they were Ghazis, frontier warriors driven by faith, honor, and survival. Across the border, Byzantine forts stood isolated, their soldiers unpaid, their empire slowly fading.
Osman's victories were small, but each one brought new warriors, new lands, and growing confidence. Incessant frontier conflictation encouraged neighboring warriors to join him and increased his political influence.
What began as a frontier tribe was becoming something greater, a state with a future no one could imagine. The empire's greatest strength was not wealth nor numbers. It was where it stood on the map. The early Ottoman state,
the Ottomans had survived their first test. But beyond the Bosporus stood the richest city on earth, Constantinople. And history was about to take a dramatic turn.
The Ottomans possessed something no army could manufacture, a position between two worlds, where Europe and Asia collided.
For thousands of years, armies, merchants, and civilizations crossed Anatolia. Whoever controlled it inherited this strategic environment and gradually learned to exploit it.
Then there was the Bosporus, a narrow waterway separating two continents and guarding the road between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean. At the center stood Constantinople, a fortress city whose walls protected the Byzantine Empire for centuries. They were approaching the gateway to a strategic system. To the west lay another gateway, the Dardanelles, connecting the Aegean to the Sea of Marmara and opening the road toward Europe. From Anatolia, Europe was across the water. The Ottoman advance developed through campaigns, alliances, and strategic control, beginning a transformation of the political map of southeastern Europe. But geography alone could not conquer Europe. The Ottomans needed an army capable of turning their position into power, and they were about to build one.
In 1451, a young sultan returned to the Ottoman throne. He was only 19, and he had already decided which city would define his legacy. For 1,000 years, Constantinople had survived emperors, crusaders, invasions, and civil wars. Its walls were built to make conquest almost impossible. Constantinople had mighty walls, but far too few soldiers to defend them. The defenders were vastly outnumbered by the Ottoman army. Before attacking the walls, Mehmed struck at Constantinople's lifeline. On the Bosporus, he built a fortress designed to control the city's sea access. Mehmed turned to a new technology of war: enormous bronze cannons capable of smashing fortifications once considered nearly invincible. On April 6, 1453, the Ottoman army appeared before Constantinople. The final siege of Byzantium had begun. The Ottomans had reached the walls, but one obstacle remained. The Golden Horn was sealed, and Mehmed was about to attempt something his enemies thought impossible. For most commanders, the chain meant retreat. For Mehmed, the battlefield's geography itself had to be changed. Mehmed explored an unconventional shift well established.
At dawn, the defenders saw Ottoman ships inside the harbor. Their strongest natural barrier had suddenly become a battlefield. The siege was becoming a contest of endurance. The cannons began their work. Day after day, enormous shots struck the walls, turning ancient stone into dust. For nearly 11 centuries, Byzantium had guarded Constantinople. At dawn, Mehmed's soldiers would attack, and the ancient empire would face its final hours. Before dawn on May 29, Mehmed unleashed his final assault. Wave after wave of Ottoman soldiers moved toward the exhausted walls. The objective: break the defense before the defenders could recover. For a moment, the impossible happened again. The defenders held the walls, pushing Ottoman soldiers back beneath a storm of arrows and gunfire. Then Giovanni Giustiniani was wounded. The commander protecting the city's most vulnerable sector was suddenly forced from the fight. The defenders were exhausted. Ottoman troops found openings in the shattered defenses, and suddenly the walls that had protected Constantinople for centuries began to fail. Constantine XI refused to escape. The last Byzantine emperor abandoned his imperial identity and entered the battle as a soldier. On May 29, 1453, Constantinople fell. An empire that had survived for more than 1,000 years had finally reached its end. Mehmed entered the city not as a destroyer alone, but as a ruler. He understood that conquest meant little unless the city from battlefield to imperial capital. The conquest of Constantinople transformed the Ottoman state into an empire at the center. The city gave the Ottoman control of strategic crossroads and greater prestige among world powers.